The next speaker today and the topic that he's going to address is absolutely critical to all pilots. And I'm honored to introduce the Acting Deputy Administrator of the Transportation Security Administration, Mr. Roderick Allison. During his, yes, thank you. During his tenure at the TSA, he's been a driving force in establishing and strengthening partnerships with federal, state, and local leaders in support of the TSA's mission. And I can tell you that we at ALPA and the ASO truly have enjoyed working with Mr. Allison in safeguarding our skies and looking forward to our continued partnership. Now, Mr. Allison's career began in 1985, with 13 years in the U.S. Army. His supervisory and operational experience included assignments at the National Security Agency at Fort Meade. You never told me that one, that was a good one. Fort Meade, Maryland. The 7th Special Forces Group at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and an assignment with the U.S. Army Military District here in Washington. He began his civilian career with the Federal Air Marshal Service in 1998. And when he joined the program, it was still part of the Federal Aviation Administration's Civil Aviation Security Program, if you all remember that. Since 2002, Allison has served with distinction in several leadership capacities within the TSA and the Office of Law Enforcement, the Federal Air Marshal Service. In November of 2015, he was appointed Acting Deputy Administrator of the TSA Security Administration by then TSA Administrator Admiral Peter V. Neffinger. Allison earned his Bachelor of Science in Psychology from Fayetteville State University in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and a Master of Arts in Business Organizational Security Management from Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri. Please join me in a warm welcome for Mr. Allison. Thank you.
Thank you for that warm introduction. I asked him not to embarrass me, but he disregarded. And I asked Wolfgang, who's responsible for putting me in front of you in the reception? That's pretty cruel. If I was sitting where you are right now, I'd be like, I feel sorry for this guy. But thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here and speak before you all. I know you've had a busy couple of days. I've gotten some reports pretty productive. But I just want to share a couple of thoughts with you all on some of the things we're doing here at TSA. From today's panel alone, you have heard lively discussions about intelligence sharing, flight deck security, cargo protection, and public area security. All these are critical initiatives, especially in our dynamic and evolving aviation landscape. After all, the United States and the global aviation community face an adaptive and agile enemy, of which you all should be very well aware of. Terrorist groups continue to target passenger aircraft, and we have seen threats to commercial aviation as the enemy pursues new attack methods. This is precisely why we must raise the baseline for global aviation security. As I'm sure you all are well aware, last month, DHS announced enhanced security requirements for all commercial flights to the United States. These measures, both seen and unseen, include enhanced screening of passengers' electronic devices, as well as heightened security standards for aircraft and airports. As we look to stay ahead of the evolving threats, we will be working with global aviation stakeholders to expand security measures even further as we encourage such measures, as next-generation technology, the use of canines, and establishment of additional pre-clearance locations. Over the next several weeks and months, DHS and TSA will be working with aviation stakeholders to ensure that these enhanced security measures are fully implemented. As Secretary Kelly described, those who fail to adopt these requirements within certain timeframes may be subject to additional security restrictions being imposed, including a ban on large personal electronic devices on the aircraft or even suspension of flights to the United States. I can't say much more on this topic, been pretty widely discussed. However, it does serve as a convenient transition to another important theme I'd like to talk more about, and that is the importance of partnerships in our agency's transformation. TSA has been very fortunate to enjoy a relationship with the Airline Pilots Association. Earlier this year, the acting administrator, Huban Gawadi, had a candid and productive conversation with the ALPA leaders, where a number of issues of mutual interest were covered, including the potential development of a voluntary security reporting program that leverages information from frontline employees. And we're excited about getting that up and running. In addition, she had the privilege of speaking at ALPA's Aviation Security Conference in March, where she shared the agency's vision for reimagining transportation security as a dynamic and integrated system of independent actors. And that system extends beyond the traditional security players to encompass industry, academia, and yes, commercial airline pilots and crew members. When we speak of aviation security, we talk mostly of airport perimeters, checkpoints, and sterile areas. Airports today involve a lot of waiting to park, waiting to check in, waiting to be screened, waiting to board, all potential vulnerabilities. And we believe that this needs to change. Not least because TSA is experiencing in the aviation industry as a whole 4% higher volume over last fiscal year. In fact, in TSA, we are screening 500,000 more passengers per week than this time last year. So airports of the future will be moving from reservation to destination through an almost invisible yet integrated system of distributed security with less stress and less frustration for passengers and screeners, and most importantly, less vulnerability. We are thinking and designing less in terms of checkpoints, barriers, and fences, and more in terms of a security environment in which there are many partners all operating together seamlessly. That mindset entails a graduated security model with progressively more stringent checks as the passenger gets closer to the aircraft. Those checks will rely on what we know about the individual based on information collected as far back as when their reservations were made, even further for those in trusted traveler programs. Naturally, this idea requires seamless sharing of information across multiple nodes. To that end, we are striving for a more open, secure, and interoperable architecture that will increase automation and integration. Furthermore, by developing an open systems architecture using risk analysis, TSA will be better positioned to understand and address capability gaps. This in turn will ultimately lead to a better, more informed requirements to procure and deploy new technologies. On that note, I just want you to realize that we just don't pay lip service to innovation. We want to make it part of our DNA at our organization across all lines of business and transportation modes, because innovation rarely, if ever, happens in a vacuum. And so our Innovation Task Force provides industry partners, including technology manufacturers, with a platform to develop the next generation solutions we need as we together envision transportation security of the future. Part of this effort is to model the entire system to emphasize effectiveness by identifying opportunities for improvement, closing process gaps, and addressing emerging threats. The task force offers a highly visible internal incubation chamber for cutting-edge initiatives and creative entrepreneurial ways of thinking, from computed tomography and biometric authentication technology to automated screening lanes and avatar-based passenger communications. So innovation at TSA means fostering a creative mentality and entrepreneurial spirit. It can be as simple as an SOP change to keep pace with changing circumstances, or as complex as a comprehensive overhaul of a system or culture to anticipate and stay ahead of the challenges on the horizon. To support these sweeping changes, we have recently re-engineered a number of our back office support functions, including acquisitions, procurement, and training. With the help of our industry partners, TSA is pushing forward to a future where security is more seamless and more transparent. But the frontiers we must navigate to achieve that desired end state are not only technological, but also geographical. Recently, we've received powerful impetus to strengthen and broaden the global security system. With the unanimous adoption of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2309 last fall, we have an historic mandate and an unprecedented opportunity to work across borders to develop a common strategy, determine objectives, and establish goals for a worldwide aviation security system. The enhanced security measures I touched on earlier represent the first, albeit critical, step in a broader phased approach that will significantly improve global aviation security. Our aviation system is global in nature and must remain agile and responsive. That is an inescapable fact. Under the topic of partnerships, TSA can't do this alone. We don't own the system. Airlines, airports, rail operators, transit providers, trucking and shipping companies, pipeline operators, and other government agencies, travelers, and more, many of whom are represented in this room here today, are key players and co-owners. And we together share the responsibility to secure the system. Robust partnerships with stakeholders have no doubt contributed to a more professional workforce, more capable technology, better integrated intelligence, more funding, we all like that, improved operations, and greater innovation at the agency. We have long believed that the serious business of national security, of keeping our airports and aircraft safe, as well as enhancing the traveler experience where and when we can, is nothing if not a team sport. And in this sport, success is measured by the fruits of our cooperative efforts. Indeed, we have our friends at Apple to thank for originally proposing one of our most successful risk-based security initiatives, the Known Crew Member Program. By seamlessly aggregating airline employee databases, KCM allows our officers to efficiently and positively verify the identity and employment status of crew members. ALPA has been a vocal and energetic champion of KCM from its inception and has worked closely with TSA and Airlines for America to make it a model for public-private collaboration. To further that point, allow me to highlight some of the numbers. As of this week, approximately 73 million crew members have been alternately screened through KCM or its predecessor, CrewPass. And as a snapshot of the volume, last month we had nearly 452,000 flight crew members pass through 163 KCM access points at 74 airports across the nation in a single week. With an estimated 2.5% of the population removed from passenger screening checkpoints thanks to KCM, the reach and impact of this time-saving, security-focused initiative is considerable, which is why we are grateful that ALPA took to heart our concerns about KCM integrity and reminded its membership that the program is a privilege that needs to be vigilantly safeguarded. One subject that's near and dear to my heart, the FFDO program. Another success story shared by ALPA and TSA is the support for the FFDO program. FFDOs represent an important security element in the aviation system, and we continue to make strides in providing them the tools and processes needed to excel in that role. We recently approved FFDO admittance to the stereo area at U.S. airports through the KCM access points, which will streamline procedures while prioritizing security. TSA thanks and appreciates the many airline pilots who volunteer their time and energy to patriotically serve as FFDOs, to be the last line of defense in protecting the flight deck. FFDOs attend training to become and stay proficient in the requisite skills, typically at their own expense and using personal leave. I understand the drive from Albuquerque to Artesia is probably no picnic either. But this, let me tell you, as the Director of the Federal Marshal Service, I am committed to making the FFDO program easier for the pilots who have volunteered their time and expense. And I've shared my commitment to them on many other occasions. I just want to reiterate this now. I'm excited about what the future holds with the FFDO program. I actually see a lot of synergy between the FFDO program and the Federal Air Marshal Service. If you look at the numbers of people who are out in the airspace every day providing in-flight security, that's a phenomenal force that we have in this country. Nothing like this exists in the entire world, and we want to make this a model. Let me speak on air cargo security. We've moved forward to harmonize security requirements for air cargo and passengers. This is a strategic imperative as the importance of air cargo to our economic well-being and security can hardly be overstated. It represents more than a third of world trade by value, over $6.4 trillion. The National Cargo Security Program has proven to be an important initiative for ensuring 100% screening of all cargo inbound to the U.S. onboard passenger aircraft. By reducing the compliance burden on industry, NCSP represents a positive model of collaboration and information sharing, one on which we continue to build. Securing the international air cargo supply chain is absolutely vital to our national security and economic prosperity, but doing so should not impede the efficient and smooth function of the supply chain. And we are mindful that any disruption, no matter how localized, can have a global impact. We've made headway with targeted initiatives like air cargo security programs and air cargo advanced screening, or ACAS, which TSA and U.S. Customs and Border Protection initiated in 2010. The progress and success of the ACAS program hinges on TSA and CBP working closely with industry. The pilot for ACAS has been extended through this month to iron out key technical considerations such as data submission and screening procedures, but the numbers to date for the program are promising. Currently, there are 21 active industry participants and 50 additional participants working to become operational. Industry is transmitting more data from 264 countries, which represents approximately 84% of all cargo inbound to the U.S. And so far, over 425 million shipments have been processed by ACAS, with about 1% overall having been flagged by ACAS for review by the National Targeting Center. So in closing, which is a little bit closer to reception, got an amen on that one. All these advances are part of the broader effort to nurture a comprehensive culture of security, not unlike our more mature culture of safety, in which partners seamlessly share responsibility and information throughout the system. And we'll succeed only with the commitment of those partners, our colleagues like ALPA. We must continue to think forward and marshal our collective expertise, resources, and will to meet the latest challenges, such as human factors, insider threats, and emergency communication protocols. Given the experience and passion of the participants in attendance here this week, we certainly have no reason to be, or we have reason to be optimistic, excuse me. Boy, that would have been a big screw up. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. I'm sure you're eager to get to the reception. And again, my many thanks to ALPA, Joe, Captain Canal, if you're around. It's been a real pleasure working with you all, and I certainly look forward to working with you in the future, and I think we have some more hills to climb and more wins in the win column.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right.